So we're back out here with the diesel cart, and after reading some comments, and also this is something that had come up previously when I was putting this thing together originally, was the potential for the charge air to stall in the tube. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and throw a boost gauge on this thing. So naturally we got the good stuff. So 15 PSI sweep. It's hard to find a 10 PSI boost gauge, but anyway, this is what we got. And then a little single pod. So I'm thinking this is gonna go somewhere thereabouts. So I'm gonna get to work, probably make some kind of hoop that comes up and over this steering column. And then we'll get to mounting the gauge itself. And then this hose right here, that was the boost reference for the wastegate actuator. So I'm thinking I should be able to tie into that somehow. Otherwise, I'm gonna try to pop something into the intake manifold here. So Kyle found an article that was talking about the relationship of the volume of the intake plenum to the engine. This is a 418 cc motor, so you could round it up and say it's a quarter or a half a liter. So in theory, if I use the kind of rule of thumb that you'd want a 4-to-1 intake to displacement ratio, then I'm going to need somewhere 1.6 to 2 liters worth of intake volume. So first thing I'm going to do is see if we're making any boost right now, because there's a potential where maybe this thing it works and it just defies the rules. But if we have a leak somewhere, it's not going to be making any boost. Then the next thing that I'm going to look to do is see if I can find an intercooler that's about the same size as this recoil starter, which I already know isn't going to happen because they're too big. This is a 8-inch diameter circle, and the intercoolers are bigger than that. But anyway, if I can find an intercooler that is similar in size to this thing, I can ditch the recoil start because I got the electric start. I can put the intercooler on top of the flywheel, and then the flywheel is going to draw cold air over the intercooler, so that would be kind of dual purpose. So first things first, I got to mount the boost gauge, start looking at where I'm going to plumb it, and then take it from there. All right, little progress report. We got some 1.5-inch flat stock bent over the steering column. This little piece of bar I bent because this pod has this little kind of concave mount, so it's going to go on there like that with a hose clamp or something, unless that is too wobbly. So with the wheel installed, you should be able to see right through that center section. So I'm going to go do some more test fitting to make sure that that's where I want it, and then I'm going to go ahead and get that welded out. All right, so we got her welded out and painted, and then the gauge pod, pretty self-explanatory. It's got a hose clamp on there, which I don't really love. I think I'm gonna run a piece of hose over this tube so that it's got something to kind of like crush against, because right now there's no give in either of these two pieces, and it's a touch wobbly, and that's without this thing running and shaking. It's got pulls power off the back of this key switch, and then grounds to the steering column here. So this is a 3-position key. It's off, on, and start. So when it's on, the gauge lights up. So pretty pleased with that. I also got some vacuum hose, which I ran over top of the regular plastic stuff because it's kind of not the strongest. And what I need to do now is get some more, run it to here, and then I'm going to run a male barb pipe compression to the boost line, and then this thing's going to be plumbed and ready to go. And then I just got to swap tires, adjust the front end a little bit so it'll drive straight, and then we're going to be ready for a test hit. All right, boost gauge is on, backlit, temporary, permanent, wired and plumbed and everything. Swapped back to the shitty street tires, and it's got a 50-tooth sprocket on it right now, which this thing is going to be capable of hitting rev limiter on that. The 45 puts more of a load. It can it can handle the 40, honestly. But anyway, we're gonna get this thing fired up and see what it makes for boost. The kind of hope / expectation is that it's gonna be making 0, because then we have somewhere to go. If this thing makes 5 or 6 pounds of boost, then we're gonna have to start playing with injection pump timing and whatnot. But enough talking, let's get it on the road. I can already tell this is gonna be a problem. Decompression, give it some fuel. So I'll be honest, it's kind of not what I was hoping to see. I was hoping that this thing was making no boost, and that's why it was running dirty, and you know, that's where we could go. It doesn't appear to be the case. So one thing I'm kind of curious about is anytime I've done a boost gauge on something, I've always had the pressure port tapped like in the manifold somewhere. I've never had a turbo on a pickup that's had this like boost reference coming right out of the compressor housing. So I guess I'm a little curious. If I have boost there, I don't know if that means I have boost at the intake manifold. So I'm kind of curious to drill and tap a port here to see, like, you know, just because I got pressure here, does that automatically mean I got pressure there? I don't know. If in fact I do have pressure and I don't have any leaks, then I'm pretty pleased with myself in terms of how I built the thing. But it does not change the fact that it's smoky. You noticed in the test hit that it would make boost, and then it would kind of peak at like 6 or 7, and then the boost would kind of taper off. And it's actually similar to what cars and cameras experience. And I think what that is as the motor is under load and fueling, that's when it's making boost. And then as soon as it hits, either full engagement on the clutch or whatever, or it hits its top speed, like I said, this 50-tooth drive sprocket doesn't really make it work that hard on pavement. But as soon as it hits that, the load decreases and so does the boost. So I don't know if the next thing to do is to put this thing on the track and see, pavement and dirt are different, obviously. Is it different that way? Is it something where it was extra smoky the other night because it was humid and it's more dry air today? So I don't know. We're not out of the woods yet. I mean, if I don't have to make a new charge pipe, that would be really cool, but we'll see. So I got some more research to do. If you got any more info for me, drop it in the comments, and we'll figure out what the next steps are.